Hey, what's up everyone, Ultimate Atomic HD here, and welcome to the final pre-planned episode of School of the OTK, as episode 7 and onward will be entirely mandated by fan requests, so let's get going. In this episode I will be explaining to you battle phase interactions and some advanced rulings which some even experienced players are finding themselves having trouble with. So, in order to go into this topic, let's remind ourselves what the battle phase is. It's simply a phase where all your monsters are attacking into the opponent's monsters. As per basic rules, one monster can only attack one time per turn, although there are some rules and conditions upon which a monster can attack multiple times per turn, mostly mandated by monster effects. Of monsters who are able to attack more than once, but there are some cards or effects which allow you to manually grant some other monsters additional attacks upon fulfilling a certain condition. So that's pretty much that. And another thing to discuss is changing battle position. Let's say you summon the monster in attack position, and same as flipping monsters face up, you can only change one monster's battle position once per turn by simply switching it sideways, indicating that it's now in defense mode, or vice versa if you want to change it to attack mode. Now, you can only do it, like I said, naturally only once per turn per each monster, but there are some cards and effects which allow you to switch the monster's position that way if you've run out of your natural stock of changing battle positions as per se. So with that out of the way, we can actually go on what actually happens during the battle phase. So what actually happens in a battle phase: if you're attacking a monster that's in attack position and the attack is lower than your monster's attack, then the monster with the lower attack will be destroyed and sent to the graveyard, and then the opponent will take damage equal to the difference between the attack values of those monsters. If you're attacking a monster in defense position with the same specifics, higher attack, lower defense, the monster will of course again be destroyed, but no damage will be dealt, as that is the purpose of putting monsters into defense mode, to protect your life points from taking damage, unless a monster has an effect which allows it to inflict piercing damage. Now, piercing damage is the effect where, regardless in which position the monster is in, the opponent will still take damage if you attack into a defense position monster or attack position monster. Now we go on to if the attack and defense points are the attack points are equal between the two monsters. If a monster attacks a monster with the same amount of attack points in attack position, both monsters get destroyed and no one takes any damage. Although it should be noted, if monsters with 0 attack points are battling each other, nothing will happen, as monsters with 0 attack cannot destroy by battle. That is an in-game built rule, and you cannot change this or negate this or whatever. It's simply a standard rule in the game. Now, what happens if a monster with a lower attack than the opposing monster's defense attacks? Well, if you attack into a monster that has higher defense than the attacking monster's attack, then vice versa will happen. No monsters will be destroyed, but the owner of the attacking monster will take damage equal to the difference. And of course, if you attack into a monster who has the same defense as your monster's attack, no monsters will be destroyed and no one will take damage. So that pretty much covers all the scenarios that can happen within a battle phase. And we are pretty much done with the battle phase, and now we can move on to the advanced rulings per se. There are two advanced ruling tidbits that even more experienced players can often find themselves having trouble with. So let's get into it. The first one being properly summoning. Now, what does that actually mean? Properly summoning means that a monster who is properly summoned can be then later revived with other cards effects, such as, for example, you synchro summon Stardust Dragon, he goes to the graveyard, whether it was destroyed by a monster attack or a card effect, or it was Stardust Dragon, my most beloved Yu-Gi-Oh monster of all time, maybe activated its effect that sent itself to the graveyard in order to negate a destruction effect and destroy the card that the effect is coming from, and then during the end phase it returns to the field. That means that a properly special summon monster can be revived with other cards such as Monster Reborn, which revives any other monster from the graveyard. And yeah, that is pretty much the gist of the properly summoned monster. Why am I telling this ruling exactly? Well, let's say you summon Stardust Dragon with the trap card Starlight Road. You negated the destruction of 2 of your cards, you got yourself a Stardust Dragon on the field. Then, the opponent activates another destruction effect, you tribute Stardust Dragon, negate the destruction effect and destroy the card. However, because it was summoned by the effect of Starlight Road and not properly synchro summoned, Stardust Dragon will not return to the field during the end phase with its effect applied. And that is because it wasn't properly summoned. The card Starlight Road does not say in its effect text that the special summon is treated as a synchro summon, and this also goes for monsters that you send directly from the extra deck to the graveyard with a spell card Extra Foolish Burial, for example. You cannot, for example, send Stardust Dragon directly from the extra deck to the graveyard and then use Monster Reborn to revive it. It won't work because it was not properly summoned. So that is it, and that is pretty much it. However, if you summon Stardust Dragon with Converging Wishes, for example, then when you tribute him to negate a destruction effect, he will return to the field during the end phase, because Converging Wishes states in its effect text that the special summon is treated as a synchro summon. That also goes for any other card or effect that require a properly special summoned monster to work. So yeah, if a monster has been properly special summoned, or a card effect that mimics its summoning condition, in this case Converging Wishes mimics synchro summoning, then if you choose to Monster Reborn your Stardust Dragon or any other such card, then it will return no problem. However, if you use cards like Starlight Road or a more generic card such as Waking the Dragon, for example, then the monster won't return back to the field. So yeah. Post-production update yet again. I forgot to talk about one of the most important and one of the most complex advanced rulings out there, and that is missing the timing. Now, missing the timing is probably the most annoying ruling to deal with, and that is, and it can easily be spotted which cards can miss timing and which ones cannot. The cards that are worded with when, the effect starts with when, this card something, those cards that start with when can miss timing. However, cards that have their effects with if cannot miss timing, and those cards with if are infinitely more better than those cards that have the effect that begin with when. Basically, what happens in missing the timing, if a condition is met for a card that can miss timing to activate its effect, if it is not something that, if it's not something that happens last in the chain, then the effect won't activate at all. For instance, my Fortune Lady Light here is a monster that when it's removed from the field by a card effect, it allows you to special summon a Fortune Lady monster directly from the deck. For instance, if you equip Fortune Lady Light with Wonder Wand, for example, beautiful name as always, and send her to the graveyard to draw 2 cards, her effect will not activate, as the drawing the 2 cards is the last thing that happens when resolving this effect. So it's technically not a chain, but it kind of feels like one. But yeah, that is why I say that missing the timing can be a bit of an obnoxious and annoying ruling to deal with. But for instance, if you use her effect in tandem with something like Spellbook of Knowledge, which does the similar thing to Wonder Wand, you still get to draw 2 cards and send a monster from the field to the graveyard, then the effect of Fortune Lady Light will not miss timing, as the way that the Spellbook of Knowledge is written, that it's worded in the effect of the card, is that drawing 2 cards and Fortune Lady Light going to the graveyard happens simultaneously. Yeah, it's really advanced and complex stuff, but the best way to experiment with missing timing is by simply going on to Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro and testing out various combos and strategies by stacking a deck. Same works, for example, with Ruthless Denial, which allows you to send a monster from the field to the graveyard to randomly discard 1 card from the opponent's hand. So essentially, if you use this with Fortune Lady Light, Ruthless Denial just becomes a confiscation without the 1000 life point cost. And if you're using it while another Fortune Lady is up on the field, it also doubles as a Pot of Greed. So yeah, it's ridiculous. However, cards that are worded with if will not miss timing, even if their effect is not the last thing to happen in an exchange. So yeah, these if cards are, like I said, infinitely more better than cards that are worded with when, and that is why most modern retrains usually have if card effects as opposed to when. Now, without further ado, let's get back to the regular show. And the other advanced ruling I want to mention is lingering effects. Lingering effects are a special kinds of effects that other cards grant to other cards. And those kinds of effects cannot be negated. So, for example, if I link summon Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos by using IP Masquerena, IP Masquerena's effect will grant that Blackluster Soldier the ability that he cannot be destroyed by card effects. And the effect Destruction Immunity cannot be negated. For example, if the opponent activates Skill Drain, which allows him to pay 1000 life points to negate the effects of all face-up monsters on the field, then Blackluster Soldier's card effect immunity effect won't be deactivated because it was given to him by IP Masquerena. The only way to get rid of lingering effect is to either flip the monster face down and face up back again, or to remove it from the field and then return it to the field. Seeing how you cannot flip monsters face down that are link monsters, only the latter option is available for link monsters. Another example, perhaps an easier to grasp, is there is a monster called Heroic Challenger Extra Sword. Now, if he's used for an Xyz summon of a Heroic Champion Xyz monster, that Heroic Champion will grant himself an additional 1000 attack points. And same thing, if the opponent activates a Skill Drain, for example, that additional 1000 attack points will not go away because the effects were negated. So, yeah, lingering effects are kind of tricky to deal with once you... are kind of tricky because you can't exactly tell what works on them or not, but now that you basically understand the gist of how they work or operate, you can it basically becomes quite easy to manage. This also applies to spell and trap cards, because while rare, spell and trap cards can on occasion have lingering effects. So yeah, this can also be proved to be helpful with spells and traps as well. Alright, so this is another very short episode. It's actually way shorter, I think, than the previous one. I really gotta go check. But hopefully in these 6 videos I've explained everything that is crucial to know about starting up as a brand new Yu-Gi-Oh player, and I hope that anyone who watches these 6 videos will be an adept Yu-Gi-Oh player if they decide to stick with this advice that I've given out and these instructions on how the game actually works. Of course, if there are some tips and tricks that you'd still like to see on some very specific things, or some things I didn't explain quite clearly, you can always come over to either my comment section or my Patreon page, seeing how this is a Patreon supported series and the whole channel is Patreon supported. You can write down your issues and I will basically address them in a future video should enough votes fall into the direction of said potential new video. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this little 6-part series, if this does not get any follow-up episodes, but I'm pretty certain it might get some new episodes in the future, so who knows. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned for more videos, there's an updates, comment, like, and subscribe. Be sure to check out my Patreon when you got the time, maybe drop a few donations if you feel like it. And as usual, I'll upload the next vid whenever I can, so see you all and have a good day. Peace.